the line, and having her on the field, obviously, for pure captain terms, makes things a bit easier, really.
And on the field, there might even be big cricket fans who don't know about the structure of women's cricket. So, what is it compared to the men?
Well, it's actually very, very similar. I mean, I guess the difference in the county setup is that we don't play 4-day games, mainly because it's still a predominantly amateur sport, so we can't take 4 days off work, however much we'd like to go and play it. But we do play the Royal London one-day cup, which is, again, exactly the same as the men's now. It's 50-over competition. I'm pretty sure the rules are almost exactly the same. The only real difference is the ball, slightly lighter, slightly smaller for our diddly little hands. I mean, sometimes I'm sure the boundaries get drawn in, but again, not noticeably so. And then we play the NatWest T20 sort of version of the T20 Blast, again, not quite on the same pedestal. And they've just changed the format in terms of the number of rounds you play, etc. But it's the same thing, T20, 50 over.
And what are your goals this season?
For Middlesex, well, we've always said our goals are to meet Lizzie. So if you win the 50 over format, you get to go to Buckingham Palace.
Oh.
So Middlesex, that's definitely our goals. We've got a few new people, but also some really good, exciting youngsters coming through. So a young team filled with a bit of experience as well.
And where are you at with your international
My
career?
cricket.
Because, and I know you laugh, but I have to bring it up, you had a bit of an ignominious start. Just tell us about your experiences playing for Holland back in the day.
Yeah, so I grew up, I spent most of my childhood actually in that cricketing bastion that is the Netherlands. And actually I think that kind of put me in good stead because I didn't know that women's cricket really existed when I started playing. I actually loved football when I was younger. That was my real one true love. Alan Shearer, he was my god. And Newcastle United, for some strange reason,
love a bald man.
Yeah, love a bald man. It was that celebration. He was actually wanting a wicket, I think. I was told I couldn't play football with the boys at the age of 13. I think that's a sort of cut-off date for mixed football. But they had no rule for cricket at the club I was at. And so I just joined the team. I was the only girl. And started playing with the boys there. And once you've got over the initial hurdle of, oh, my God, it's a girl, they accepted me as sort of one of the guys. And I just carried on playing. And I think when I must have been 14, 15, I got this letter through the post saying I'd been selected for Holland Women. And I had no idea it existed and thought, well, why not? And then we played, we had a few matches. We played the European Cup and we played against England and got absolutely trounced by them. And I thought, you know what, I'd rather be on that side. And then came over here when I was 16.
And you're doing your best to avoid it, but just what was it again? What were they?
Oh, don't. So I've got one ODI to my name against Ireland. Bowled good 10 overs. I think I was 0 for possibly 60-something. There was a drop catch, just going to put it out there as well. And I got a very gallant duck.
Was it an edge or was it a...
Oh, no, they should have caught it. Come on, I was a bowler. They definitely should have caught it.
But was it a full toss that was hit out to mid-wicket? Or was it?
I don't bowl full tosses. What are you talking about? No, I think it was a catch that went down. But equally, there were no wickets to my name, which may have reflected the bowling. It may have not. I was 15.
That is true.
It was an experience, and it put me. I'm glad I did that experience.
I can only go up from here, then, I suppose.
Yeah, if I ever play another ODI again, but we'll see.
Well, I suppose, surely you've got to have that belief that you can play for it.
Yeah.
Because that's what everyone plays the game for, to represent.
I mean, I think anyone that's playing county cricket in the first division would lie if they said that they didn't want to play for England. That's the goal, isn't it? That's the dream. But equally, I'm so excited about playing for Middlesex at the moment that I want our team to do well in that respect. But selfishly, yeah, playing for England's the dream. Whether it's realistic or not, I don't know. You've got to enjoy it along the way, don't you?
And when you grew up, obviously
Yeah.
you were in Holland, but are you a Middlesex fan at heart?
Well, I was born in Hammersmith, so I mean that's part of Middlesex, I guess. But again, I didn't really know much about cricket growing up because I was a sort of sport expat brat around the world, and again, football was my thing. And then I was a Newcastle supporter, which again is absurd for somebody that's born sort of south of Watford and with an accent that comes straight out of Buckingham Palace.
I was about to say, but you took the word.
Yeah, and then I went to school in Somerset. So Somerset I sort of followed for a bit. But I think I feel as though Middlesex is my home. This is where I come from. And I think I Strauss, obviously, over the years, was someone I look to as well. So yeah.
You had a spell at Somerset women's cricket.
Yeah.
Just tell us about what happened there.
So that's more when I was at school and at university, and that's where I was. That's where my parents were, and that was great because that really sort of brought me into the world of England cricket. And I think it was more Bath, actually. It was a club I was with who have an amazing women's setup, and I think that's something that a lot of clubs miss. It wasn't the fact that it was a big women's setup, which it is. It was the fact that it was on a level pegging with the men's in terms of how they treated us, how they regarded the players, be it prizes, be it coverage in the sort of website, etc. The men and the women were on a par, and they still are, and that's why, absurdly, I still play for them. Even though I live in London, I love that 2-hour train journey from Paddington to Bath. It's a good time.
And to change tack a little bit, because we talked very much about Izzy Westbury, the sportswoman,
yeah.
But there's a whole other side. There's Izzy Westbury, the journalist, which you laugh, but unless something's changed in the last 5 minutes, you are, as far as I know, a journalist. Tell us a little bit more about this side of things and where it came from.
So again, I think that was more from university. I'm a Jill of all trades. I love having lots of fingers and lots of different pies, and I get bored quite easily. And it was more, I got quite involved with student politics for my sins and sort of ended up writing about politics a bit. And while I really enjoyed that, I felt that actually sports journalism was a lot more fun. And actually there weren't many women around. So it was only really in my sort of latter years at university that I started writing about cricket, and then from there I've done it as a sort of sideshow to, I'm supposedly becoming a lawyer or going through law school, but that's a sort of, again, I say that's a sideshow to everything else. Well, my parents would disagree.
It seems like there's a lot of sideshows being sideshows to different other things. I'm not going to let that go immediately, just for the sake of the fact that your parents might be watching this as well. What is the situation with... Because people often don't see this in minority sports as such, or sports fighting for coverage where people are professionals. You're not just the Middlesex cricket captain. You're doing journalism, and you're coming through 6 years of law. Just give us a bit more on that.
So you've got to it's an amateur sport predominantly, cricket, women's cricket is. Last year they announced 18 contracts for the England players, which is wonderful, but it's 18 contracts. So the rest of us, especially on the county, we're all scrabbling about. And you've got a mixture of things that people do. A lot of us are students. It's probably why I've been 6 years a student. I've managed to extend that because you can do other things while you're being a student. Teachers, coaches as well, but then people outside the game, and that's where it gets really difficult. And that's where I think you see the biggest drop-off of players is the ages of 18 and maybe 21 once you've left university, because the money and the time that goes into travelling, into training is substantial.
And so given how much effort you've put into that, I'm assuming that the playing comes above the journalism. Yeah,
for me, I think while I'm young, relatively, and can still play, absolutely. I love cricket. I'd like to play it as long as possible. But I think journalism is another passion, and again, something of a bit more longevity that hopefully in the future, once I hobble off that field aged 45, I can carry on with that.
And you're heading off to Australia for a couple of months on what you call some sort of holiday / journalism work / playing cricket in this weird sort of triple life that you lead. You must be absolutely chuffed and excited about that.
Well, I shouldn't really be here right now because I've got my law finals in the next few days. So
you definitely want to hope that your parents haven't seen this.
Yeah, I haven't really told them about this. It's fine. You've got to relax, right? That's what I always said. I think I finish on Wednesday and I'm off on Friday. So I might have a good night on Wednesday and sort of carry on through the morning. I've been told to bring my bags to the nightclub on Thursday, so maybe that will happen. No, I'm off to Australia for 2 months. The World Cup's going on, the men, obviously, and I'll be playing a bit of grade cricket out there, which is what I want to do, prepare for the season. I think everyone always says Australia, you've got to go there for the cricket because of the passion, the intensity, and the way they treat it. And this is women as well as men, so that's what I want to do, just really experience it.
And again, you touched on it there, but to test yourself in foreign conditions like that, in probably the harshest environment a POM can travel to.
Especially as a spinner coming to those decks at the end of a season. I don't think it's going to turn that much, but it'll be a challenge. That's what it's going to be.
Well, that's a very optimistic way of putting it. And of course, while you're out there, I'm sure you'll be getting to plenty of the Cricket World Cup games.
Yeah, let's hope so.
And do you think England have... How do you see it? You roll your eyes and it feels like
England
that's the
men. I mean, they're trying to say they've got an unknown factor. There are some amazing men in that squad. There's a KP debate. There's a sort of a sideline as well.
What's your view on that?
He's a great player. He's obviously a difficult character. I mean, there's no doubt about that.
No, I'm not going to let you go without.
No, I think there's
would you have him in, or would you?
I don't know enough about it. That's where it stands. I think there's a lot of difficult characters, not aside from him, within the England squad.
Do you think that sometimes maybe there's so much press about Peterson being this difficult character that maybe some of the other potential people in that team who might not be the easiest to work with, and I'm not going to name any names because I don't know well enough, but get away with it a little bit?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you, and I also think that characters like Peterson probably were quite disruptive to some other players who have flourished in his absence. Having said that, he was the best batsman and in the England team at the time that he was sacked, and probably still could be. So on batting merits alone, of course I'd have him in, but obviously that's not the whole story.
And quick prediction, where do you see England?
OK, I'm going to go semis. Let's go semis.
So who do you think they can beat in the quarters then? Because they've got to win a quarter
Depends
final.
who they get. I don't know who's in their group actually, but it depends. I think the first match is England-Australia, so that would be quite an interesting one.
And as for this tri-series beforehand, Australia and New Zealand, I probably couldn't have picked two tougher teams to play. Do you think? You
say that. Well, Sri Lanka just beat New Zealand, but they're pretty up there. I mean, New Zealand in the one-dayers, but New Zealand smashed them in the test. So, I think all this chat about England being new and having a sort of unknown factor, I think will come into fruition.
Do you think England would almost rather not win the tri-series to keep expectations low and be a dark horse?
Oh, they've kept expectations low enough, I feel.
That's true. That's true. And do you think replacing Cook with Owen Morgan was the right choice?
Yeah, obviously Middlesex, go for it. I mean, Owen was coming off the back of quite a bad patch as well. So in terms of form, I think it was difficult. But I think longer term, yeah, he's an exciting batsman. I think Cook is not a one-day player in my eyes. I think Owen is, and hopefully he can see what he can do.
And you spoke of Owen's connection to Middlesex. A question many people would probably ask from the outside in: how connected are the men's teams and the women's teams? Is there much interaction? Is it very separate?
To be honest, not really, because they are professionals. So this is their career, this is their job. They obviously get a lot more coverage as well. We have sort of our end of season dinner together. We do the NatWest Grand. Was it Grand? What's it called? We go around clubs and help paint things in March. I forgot what it's called, which is terrible.
Thank you very much for your time, Izzy. That's all we've got time for. That was the first episode of McCann Meets with Izzy Westbury. Look forward to speaking to you soon. Goodbye.